Coming up on this Tuesday edition of Daybreak, President Park Geun-hye and the leaders of the ruling and opposition parties failed to reach a compromise on a range of political issues that have halted Parliament for weeks. The opposition says it will continue its street protests. Nearly 70% of South Korean firms with factories at the inter-Korean Gaeseong Industrial Complex restarted operations Monday after more than 5 months. The two Koreas' Red Cross exchanged final lists of wartime separated family members to attend next week's family reunions. Plus, the United Nations confirms the chemical agent sarin was used in a rocket attack in Damascus last month. Though the report doesn't attribute blame, the UN chief calls the attack a war crime. Daybreak begins now.
You're watching Daybreak on Tuesday, September 17th, and I'm Choi Yusun in Seoul. We start this morning with efforts by the nation's presidential office to resolve the prolonged political impasse at the National Assembly. President Park Geun-hye met with the leaders from the two main political parties on Monday with hopes of walking away with a solution. But she and the opposition Democratic Party failed to reach an agreement on how to break the gridlock surrounding the issue of reforming the nation's spy agency. Our Kim Hyun-ji reports.
After the landmark talks with President Park Monday afternoon, the ruling and the main opposition parties had very different perspectives about the meeting.
President Park talked with sincerity about the topics the main opposition party brought to the table, so I expect a positive outcome.
I did tell the president everything. A lot was exchanged between us, but there were no correct answers. Not even one.
According to the ruling Saenuri Party's chief secretary, Democratic Party leader Kim Han-gil proposed tough reforms of the nation's spy agency led by the National Assembly. But President Park said the National Intelligence Service is in the process of drawing up rigorous plans for its own reforms, and that lawmakers can make changes once this plan is filed at the National Assembly. President Park and the ruling party were also lukewarm about the opposition party's proposal to form a special parliamentary committee to reform the spy agency, because doing so would override the function of the Parliament's Intelligence Committee. At the talks, Democratic Party leader Kim Han-gil asked President Park to offer a public apology for the spy agency's interference in last year's presidential election. But she rejected the suggestion, saying that the scandal began and ended during the Lee Myung-bak administration. Regarding Prosecutor General Choi Dong-uk's sudden resignation last Friday, President Park rejected the notion that the presidential office pulled strings to take him down. The unsatisfied Democratic Party says it will continue its street protest campaign, which has been going on for more than a month now. Vast bipartisan differences over the spy agency scandal have paralyzed parliamentary business for weeks, putting on the back burner urgent issues like next year's budget. Kim Hyun-ji, Arirang News.
Also, during Monday's meeting, President Park Geun-hye, for the first time, hinted at the possibility of increasing taxes to cover the cost of expanding social welfare. The president had earlier highlighted generating the funds from taxing the underground economy and adjusting state expenditure. And in the most concrete sign yet that North Korea may be trying to improve relations with the South, the inter-Korean Gaeseong Industrial Complex resumed operations on Monday, 5 months after being closed. But companies still face several hurdles to get their businesses back on track. Our Kim Hyun-bin sent this report from the transit office at the inter-Korean border.
165 days. That's how long the Gaeseong Industrial Complex has been sitting idle. But Monday marked a new start for the two Koreas, as over 800 South Korean industrial workers went to Gaeseong to reboot their machines and get back to work. The South Koreans said that most of the North Korean workers who were there before the suspension were back at their positions on Monday. One executive said he also noticed a positive change.
Most importantly, there has been a change in attitude from the North. I believe the complex will become the backbone for enhancing inter-Korean economic cooperation in the future.
Around 60% of the 123 South Korean firms were in Gaeseong and got back to work on Monday. But the road to normal operation looks like it'll be a rocky one.
Since the factory park has been closed for over 5 months, the firms are lacking orders from buyers. It'll probably take more than a year to reach normalization.
To minimize losses, South Korean firms in Gaeseong need to attract old and new buyers in order to operate at full capacity. Meanwhile, the Export-Import Bank of Korea is pressuring firms to return money they'd taken from the Inter-Korean Economic Cooperation Insurance Fund, which was set up to help the companies keep ticking during the shutdown. 46 firms took roughly $140 million from the fund, but paying it back could be difficult, especially considering they haven't made any sales for over 5 months. In response to these concerns, the Gaeseong Emergency Committee will ask the government to extend the payback date, currently set for October 15th. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News, Haju.
And preparations for the upcoming reunions of families separated by the Korean War are also well underway. At the Truce Village of Panmunjom Monday, Red Cross officials from the two Koreas exchanged the final list of names of those selected to participate in the event. Seoul's Unification Ministry says 96 South Koreans and 100 from the North will take part in the reunions that are slated to start next Wednesday for 6 days at the Mount Kumgang Resort in North Korea. This is the first time in 3 years that Seoul and Pyongyang will hold such an event after the reunions were halted due to strained inter-Korean relations. In an illegal border crossing attempt gone wrong, a man was shot dead by the South Korean military in Gyeonggi province on Monday while reportedly trying to cross the river into North Korea. A senior official at the Joint Chiefs of Staff said that several warning shots were fired and that he was told to return to the south, but the 47-year-old man, only identified by his surname Nam, ignored them. He was shot and killed after jumping into the Imjin River. An investigation is currently underway to determine the man's identity and his motive for the attempted border crossing. North Korea's top nuclear envoy was in Beijing Monday ahead of a seminar on nuclear issues on the Korean peninsula. Kim Gae-kwan and his delegation will attend a meeting on Wednesday organized by the Chinese government that involves academics and officials from the members of the six-party denuclearization talks. Experts say the trip shows Pyongyang's determination to return to the negotiating table. Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo have said they will not send high-level officials to Wednesday's meeting because the North has yet to show its sincerity towards denuclearization. Japanese officials dropped by Seoul on Monday to protest the recent blanket ban of fisheries products from several Japanese prefectures. But their visit did little to calm fears of radiation contamination. Our Yurian reports on the lingering worries.
A group of 9 officials from Japan's Fisheries Ministry visited Korea's food watchdog on Monday afternoon to discuss Korea's recent import ban on all fisheries products from Japan's radiation-hit Fukushima and 7 other nearby prefectures. The officials from Japan's Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries reportedly explained to their Korean counterparts the countermeasures that have been taken against radiation leaks and asked that the ban be lifted. The Korean government in return asked for more detailed information on the radiation leak out of Fukushima, saying that what they have been provided thus far is not sufficient enough to determine whether imports from those regions are safe from radiation. Japan's chief cabinet secretary earlier this month tried to reassure the international community about the safety of Japanese products.
After the nuclear crisis, all products have been subject to intense checkups to meet international safety standards.
The Korean government, however, has been emphasizing that the ban was necessary as there are escalating concerns about whether fish from Japan are safe to consume.
We enforced the ban because it has been difficult to determine the exact situation following the nuclear accident, as information and data from the Japanese government have been insufficient.
If Korea decides to leave the import ban as it is, Japan's Sankei Shimbun says Japan may file a legal suit against Korea with the WTO. Following Monday's meeting, the Korean government is expected to meet with related departments to discuss what their next move will be. Yuri-an, Arirang News.
A powerful typhoon that swept through Japan Monday caused radioactive water from the stricken Fukushima nuclear plant to drain into the ocean. Japanese authorities say more than 100 millimeters of rain was measured in some parts of the crippled plant Monday afternoon as Typhoon Mani moved its way north. The deluge that accumulated within the concrete wall surrounding tanks at the plant, combined with contaminated water there, was drained out by authorities. The amount of water, however, was not known. Although plant operator TEPCO said radioactive level of the drained water was a maximum of 24 becquerels per liter, below the legal limit of 30 becquerels per liter, some Japanese media outlets questioned whether the operator measured the level just before leaking the water. Typhoon Mani left at least 8 people dead or missing and more than 100 injured.
If you want the latest news from Korea and around the world.
Return to the negotiations.
President Park Geun-hye plans, given the current circumstances.
On your way to work or at home.
The legislature will convene a...
Tune into Daybreak on Arirang TV.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Tuesday. On the country's economic front, recent data may indicate a steady recovery, but growth so far has largely been limited to exporters. That means many Korean consumers are feeling left out from any of the gains. Our Hwang Ji-hye reports on the nation's stagnant consumption.
From GDP growth and trade surplus to low inflation and improving spending power, recent economic indicators released by the government point to a rosy future for the Korean economy. But there's few signs benefits of the improving conditions are felt by ordinary Koreans. That's because the recovery so far has largely been driven by export-reliant companies, and corporate earnings have not trickled down to workers, at least as yet. While national income grew 4.7% in the second quarter of this year from a year earlier, the income improvement for households for the comparing period was less than a third of the pace. That is well below the rate of the nation's GDP expansion of 2.3%. The nation also logged nearly $5 billion in trade surplus last month to stay in the black for the 19th straight month, thanks to improving exports that went up over 7% in the month from the same period last year. In contrast, Korea's private spending, a main traditional growth engine together with exports and investment, grew a mere 1.8% in the second quarter of this year from the same period last year. Experts don't expect the private sector to regain vitality in the coming months.
The nation's household debt problem and the slumping real estate market is causing people to cut down on their spending. That means the lackluster activity of the private sector is likely to continue for some time to come.
Experts say to make consumers start spending again, the government should find ways to revive the housing market and create quality jobs. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
Traditional markets in Korea have been undergoing a modern transformation in recent years in an effort to sway consumers back to these time-honored businesses. And in order to revive these local community markets, some of Korea's biggest companies are offering a helping hand to spur sales ahead of the Chuseok Thanksgiving holiday. Our Paul Lee reports.
Here in the city of Ulsan, some of Hyundai Motor's top CEOs and union leaders have decided to put aside their differences and come together in support of local traditional markets. The management and labor representatives explore the market, greeting merchants and inquiring about the fresh goods. Both parties hope their efforts will boost sales and stimulate the local economy.
There are a lot of high expectations among traditional market merchants. With more people shopping at traditional markets, I hope we can together create a better society for everyone.
The tour is part of Hyundai Motors' recent contribution towards traditional markets, along with the purchase of some $15.7 million worth of gift certificates. The market vouchers are only redeemable at traditional markets and have been distributed among company employees ahead of the Chuseok holiday.
Employees and their families will be able to purchase a lot of goods, so it will revitalize the market. I hope it will also act as an opportunity for regional development.
It's a growing trend among Korea's biggest conglomerates, from Samsung to POSCO, as it contributes to their corporate welfare programs while providing seasonal gifts for their employees.
Since receiving the gift certificates from the company and then coming down here, I found that the products are cheap and the quality is good. I think a lot of parents would really like this.
Small and medium-sized business associations have been investing in the gift certificate program for years to revitalize traditional markets in Korea. And now with this boost from the private sector, their efforts are finally paying off. Paul Yi, Arirang News.
A UN inspector's report into the Damascus chemical weapons attack back in August says there is clear and convincing evidence that the chemical agent sarin was used. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, laying out the findings to the Security Council on Monday, said those responsible for the, quote, war crime must be brought to justice as soon as possible. The report does not say who was responsible for the attack, but Western governments are adamant it was the Syrian government and not the rebels. The United States, France, and Britain on Monday warned Syrian President Bashar al-Assad that he will face consequences if he does not stick to a deal under which he has agreed to give up all of the regime's chemical arms arsenal. Russia, which struck the deal with the U.S., said threatening Syria could wreck attempts for a diplomatic solution to the crisis. At least 13 people, including a suspected gunman, have been killed in a shooting spree at a U.S. naval installation in Washington, D.C. The gunman, identified by unnamed officials as 34-year-old Aaron Alexis, opened fire on workers who were streaming in to start their work week. Little is known about the alleged shooter, but he is believed to have worked as a civilian contractor for the military. Police were originally on the lookout for 2 other suspects wearing military-style uniforms, but one has since been ruled out. The motive for the attack is not yet known.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off in the major leagues as LA Dodgers pitcher Lee Hyun-jin is going after his 14th win of the season, this time against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, the hefty lefty, who's currently 13-6 with an ERA of 3.07, will be going up against Trevor Cahill, who has been struggling this season with a record of 6-10 and an ERA of 4.22. While the Dodgers have been enjoying a nice season so far, they have been struggling a lot lately, including the current 3-game losing streak. With Lee Hyun-jin hoping to earn his 14th win of the season, he hopes to also end the losing streak as the Dodgers get closer to the playoffs. And moving on, the playoffs is approaching here in the KBO as well. And with all those rainouts during the long monsoon season we had, it's time to make up all those lost games. And in fact, 2 games took place last night as we begin with the Hanwha Eagles taking on the Kia Tigers. Now we begin in the first inning of the game as Na Ji-won here is going to single to left center, bringing home Shin Jong-gil as Kia now takes the lead 1-0. Now we go over to the second inning of the game. Here's Kim Kyung-eun, RBI single to right, and the ball game's tied 1-1. But in the third inning of the game, here's Park Geun-hye with an RBI double to right field, and Kia takes the lead back 2-1. But check this out, guys. Fourth inning, here come the Hanwha Eagles. Han Sang-hoon starts off with a 2-run triple to center field, this giving the Hanwha Eagles the 3-2 lead. Next batter, it's going to be Lee Jun-soo this time. RBI single to right keeps the inning going. But we're not done yet. Next play, Lee Dae-soo drives this one to right, an RBI double here, extending the lead to 5-2 Hanwha Eagles. But here we go, more from the Hanwha Eagles. Lee Yang-gi this time, a 2-run single to center, makes it 7-2. The Hanwha Eagles would score 7 runs in this inning to take an 8-2 lead after 4 innings. And we're going to shift over to the 7th inning here. Kia trying to come back here with Hong Jae-ho with an RBI single here, cutting the deficit before Lee Bum-ho sending this one to deep left center field. Back, gone. A 3-run shot makes it 8-6 Hanwha Eagles. But no matter, the rally is cut short as Hanwha takes this game 9-6. And next up, the Nexon Heroes taking on the NC Dinos. First inning, Na Sung-bum sends this to left field. A sac fly gives the NC Dinos the early 1-0 lead. But in the third inning, here's Kim Min-sung at bat with an RBI double here as Park Byung-ho would come in to score. And the ball game's now tied 1-1. Next inning, Lee Sung-yeol says goodbye with a solo shot to left field. And the Nexon Heroes now take the lead 2-1. 7th inning insurance run for the Nexon Heroes as Lee Tae-keun singles to right, helping the Nexon Heroes take this game 3-1. And with the win, Nexon now tied with Tucson in 3rd place. And with that said, moving on to football, where the future of Korean football got a little brighter after finding out that 15-year-old Lee Sung-woo will be signing with Luis Suarez's agent Pere Guardiola. Now, the young striker is currently playing for the U15 Barcelona team and has long been regarded as the Korean Lionel Messi. And with the latest news, many speculate a huge transfer move soon to come. And so with that said, finishing things off with some good news for all you basketball fans here in the nation, as the KBL announced on Monday that they're going to extend their game time. While the league currently plays 10-minute quarters, the latest announcement made by the league officials stated that beginning 2014-2015 season, each quarter will be 12 minutes. While adding 2 minutes to each quarter seems very little, it'll actually make a huge difference in the end. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Happy Tuesday morning to you. I'm Lee Ji-hyun with your latest weather forecast. Well, the sun was very bright yesterday afternoon. In fact, it was too bright that my eyes were so dazzled that I couldn't open them. Well, today is expected to be much the same as yesterday, so if you left your sunglasses at home, make sure to pack them today. And it's forecasted that people will start to head home for Chuseok holiday this afternoon, so again, have your sunglasses ready to protect your eyes from sunlight on the road. Well, the glorious blue skies will continue as the high pressure from the west will bring clear, nice weather to entire nation. And the similar weather pattern is set to continue tomorrow. Plenty of sunshine and pleasant condition is on tap, and afternoon highs will be hitting in the upper 20s to low 30s across the nation. Now, morning lows are similar to yesterday, but daytime highs will be slightly higher today. So let's take a look at those numbers. The capital will rise to 29 degrees Celsius, that's 84 degrees in Fahrenheit, and afternoon highs in Daegu, Gwangju, and Busan will all get to 30 with a good amount of sunshine. Now let's see how other regions are looking. Jeju and Daejeon, Dokdo will get up to in the mid to high 20s, and Mount Kumgang will stay cool at 18. Well, that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world. That's all I have for you at this hour. Enjoy your morning commute and have a wonderful Tuesday.
And those are the stories we have for you at this hour. Thank you for watching.